You're listening to the Naptime Empires Podcast with my mom, Nikki Elledge Brown. Mom, your show's on.
Thanks, bud. I got it from here. Welcome to the Naptime Empires Podcast, refreshingly honest conversations on the realities of parenthood and entrepreneurship. I'm your host, Nikki Elledge Brown. Let's get started. In this episode, I want to offer up an idea for you whenever you're feeling stuck, unsure, confused, overwhelmed, frustrated, like you're not really sure what your next right step could be, or maybe you have 5 different next right steps lined up and you're not sure which one to take, and you really just wish somebody could give you the answer key. And yes, I'm talking to myself as much as I'm talking to you. I cannot tell you how many times and how many calls I've been on in the last however many years to be like, could somebody just give me the answer key? Just tell me what to do here. And that's actually the trick. It's like a trick question here, because what I want to encourage you to try, if you haven't yet, is to find and enlist the support of someone whose sole purpose is to point you back to your own most powerful, truest, most authentic self. That's the key. Because if you're feeling stuck and unclear right now, the truth is usually we're not. Usually we do actually have an answer. We know the answer. If we can be still and quiet enough, the answer is there. And one metaphor analogy at some point that I used is like, oh, right. It's like my voice was there, but the earbuds fell out. Like my inner voice was always there, but the earbuds fell out. Like the volume was really, really low. You know, like whenever you're on a call with a friend, whether it's on your phone or on the laptop or the computer, and you're like, I can hear you, but just barely. It's so quiet that you can't really tell what they're saying. And then you're like, oh, I forgot. Like the earbuds were plugged in, but you didn't have them in your ears. So your earbuds just fell out. And sure, ultimately, the goal is that we can really tap into our own highest self, inner wisdom, divine spirit, however you want to term it, on our own. But the reality is, even when you've got your F management, as I call it, your F management system or your intuition really dialed in, it's still helpful and important to have human bumpers, like guardrails, to hold up the mirror and point you back. So what do I mean by that? It's easy to talk about hiring and finding support for your business, all the different things that are going on in your business. Even when we talk about finding support at home, whether that's with yard care or home care or childcare, like the personal life kind of things, that's something that we talk about a lot. But I haven't heard many, if any, conversations specifically around the importance of finding someone for you who's there to truly hold space and support you, she who wears the hats, he who wears the hats, the one who wears the hats. And this is really important because if we don't have that accountability for authenticity, it's like authenticity insurance. If we don't have those guardrails, it's very easy for us to make little decisions every day, week, or month that are leading us further and further from where we really want to be. And I don't believe that we can take a wrong step. I really don't. Like we're just taking a roundabout way. There's benefits to that. But if we really want to make the most of the time that we have and live as on purpose as we can possibly live, then we need somebody to help us plug those earbuds back in and be honest with ourselves of what we really want. Because I do believe that we genuinely have the answers that we need inside of us. It's just sometimes we need an extra push or reflection externally from someone that we trust to help us see that. I mean, maybe even just this podcast episode is going to serve that purpose for you. If I could just challenge you, like if you had to be clear, if you had to know what you wanted to do, if you had to know what your next right step would be, what is it? So my experience with this and finding someone for me, the first person I ever hired to support me with this kind of stuff, like holding me true and keeping me out of my own way, was Michelle Simmons, who I love and have worked with her for years and years. She was one of my first clients that summer of 2013. She's based in Australia. She's intuitive, an EFT practitioner, and so much more. But I started to work with her when I started to get into my own way. I didn't really have time for that, to be honest. In the first few months of my business, everything just took off so fast and I was serving clients and there was no time for me to get in my own stuff, in resistance and fear, but as I was starting to think about creating a course about copy and putting myself out there in a more leveraged and scalable way, if you could say that, I started to get nervous and I started to spin my wheels. And she was the person who could help me, whether it was through EFT or just sitting down and talking through like, okay, what do you actually need to do? When are you actually going to make time to do it? Like those kinds of conversations. She was my first experience with that. Another person I've mentioned on the podcast many times is Susan Ferraro, call her Suze. And she's someone that I associate time with Suze with time with myself. Like, I don't know how else to describe it. I associate time with her with time with myself. And that's how I would love for you to feel about your time with me, whether it's through the podcast, through books and future programs or courses or workshops or whatever. I love that when I am hanging out with her or talking with her, I truly feel like she's just there to help me remember who I actually am. It's such a powerful thing. And it's something that we'll invest in so many other things. Facebook ad support or getting this blog post out or this content created. But how often are you really checking back in with yourself to be like, is this even what I want to do? Does this even support the bigger vision that I have? So what I'm saying is, if you find yourself here often and you're not actually checking yourself out in your internal mirror that often, then this could be a game changer for you. And it could be a coach, it could be a consultant, it could be a therapist, it could be a mentor, an energy healer, it could be a friend. But I just want you to be thinking about if you find yourself being like, I'm stuck, I don't know what to do. And so you're kind of stalling out. Well, there's probably many reasons for that. Maybe you're not facing a particular fear. You're afraid of what would happen if you actually take the action that you think you want to take. And in that case, I recommend following that fear all the way down the trail to say, what if that happened? And what if that did happen? And what if that did happen? What would I do? And prove to yourself that you could handle it and you would figure it out because you're resourceful. But when you're stuck in here, I just want you to know and remember, if you haven't experienced this kind of support yet, that it's available to you, that it's out there, but that you have to prioritize it. So we have a front door mat outside our front door here at our home that says, come as you are. And I feel like, again, that's how I want all my clients and all my friends and my children and my husband, and my sisters and my parents. I want to create that kind of space where it's like, come on, if you need to let your hair down or put your hair up or unbutton your pants or like in my park ranger days, I think I've shared that before with the polyester wool, especially with the maternity, that situation was so uncomfortable. That was like the first thing when I came in the house. Whoo, let it all hang out. And you need a space and a place for that. You need a space and a place for that, especially if you're running your own business and building your own business, because you want to be building your own business, not mine, not someone else that you respect in your field, because it's not sustainable. And the strategies that are out there, I think everything works. For the most part, everything works. So if you're looking for an example and it's like, oh, but so-and-so made this amount of money in this amount of time using this particular strategy, I guarantee you there's someone with an equal and opposite strategy that also had great success. But again, what does success even mean? That's something that you've got to define for yourself. This is the hashtag on her terms conversation that I alluded to in our season premiere. Side note, I feel like I'm breathing really heavily, and I think it's because I'm 27 weeks pregnant. So if you're noticing that, dang it, if you weren't, now you will. But that's one thing that I'm noticing about myself. I just wanted to admit that so that we can be clear. I do need to allow myself to be oxygenated here. So this is the point. I hired Michelle. Like, people used to ask me in the early months of business and they would say, who's your business coach? Who's your launch coach? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I don't have one. I'm not actually coachable when it comes to business strategy. I'm really not. And that's part of my, I grew up very good girl, but that's also part of my rebellion other side. And I'm trying to integrate the two at this point in stage in life. But that's part of my rebellion. I will not, just because somebody tells me to do this thing with my business, if it doesn't feel aligned or authentic, like this is something that I actually want to do, I'm not going to do it just because somebody said it works. So when it comes to business strategy, I'm not very coachable. But I do value coaching and support when people are pointing me back to what actually does feel true to me. And hopefully that's how I show up for my clients. That's my aim. That's my goal. Expressed purpose. Because again, you could try something. For example, if you wanted to offer a group program, but you didn't want to offer a Facebook group, but everybody else is offering a Facebook group, should you do it? No. Because you won't want to sell the thing. If it's not actually what you want to do, if it's not actually something you want to deliver, then you're not going to sell it because you're wise, you're smart, and you're not going to put yourself in that position. Or you do and you sell it and then you get resentful real fast. So do you see, like, that's one of so many examples we could come up with. But it's like, it's easy to get sucked into the internet, especially if you're at the beginning stages of your business. I'm not sure yet where you are in your stage of business, or maybe you're reinventing yourself kind of like I am right now and figuring out what do I want to offer moving forward. And I'm like, my F management system has become so refined over the last few years that I'm like, I will absolutely not do something that I don't want to do. So there's no point in me paying someone to tell me, hey, do this. This is what works. This is the proven system for blah, blah, blah. And I'm not to say that, like, there are systems, there's no need for us to reinvent the wheel, but it comes back to critical thinking and discernment and checking back in with yourself on if that proven system, which parts of it work for you and for the people that you want to serve in the way that you want to serve them, and which parts of them don't. And don't let yourself be peer pressured into feeling like you have to do it this one way. Again, sustainable success and leadership is defined by you on your terms. And it has to come from inside, as frustrating as that can be. And again, people can follow a system and get to a certain point, absolutely. Or like a franchise, a McDonald's franchise or whatever, pick any franchise. And that's a step-by-step kind of thing. But I bet the most successful ones too have their own magic that they're applying to it. So again, I'm not to say that we have to reinvent the wheel and create everything from scratch. But the point is, just make sure you're checking back in with yourself. And if you find yourself in this, I don't know what to do, then that just means you need to practice and rebuild this muscle of listening to your own inner wisdom. And if that's hard for you and you can't find the earbuds, you're like, I know it's there somewhere, or I'm hearing nothing, radio silence, crickets, then consider investing in support for you. Someone to hold up the mirror. And basically it's like, it just feels good too. And so you can do this with a friend for sure. And you probably do already. But the difference in if you're investing in somebody, whether it is therapist, coach, mentor, healer, consultant, whatever label you want to put on it, it's like, it's nice to know in that clean container, you've paid that person for their time. So it's not like this reciprocal, like with a friendship where the friend's going to want to check back in with you. You're going to want to check in with the friend. It's nice to have a clean container where you can just show up and bring all your ish, pour all the puzzle pieces out on the table, and have somebody help you sort through them. That's a valuable thing. What else did I want to say about this? Yeah, I feel like in my experience, and I've worked with many people over the years, Michelle, Suze, Erin, Ashley, so many, because this is the kind of support I love to offer. So naturally, it's also the kind of support that I love to receive. But it's like, I feel like they're facilitating conversations between my different selves. So there's my human self that's in my emotions, and I'm like, I can't see out of my emotions, like I can't see what's going on. And then my divine self that has that more grounded vision, connection. And then team other side, as Suze calls it, like my support from spirit is something I believe is very real and have experienced in very real ways. So it's like facilitating those conversations. You can get so much clarity. And the clarity that you get is something you're going to want to act on because it feels real and inspired. It's your intuition. It's not impulse instinct. I'm afraid of this or I want that. It's like, it's your true wisdom. So yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about and anchor in today is the value in finding someone who will hold you to living as your most powerful, authentic self. So to recap, your support, your you support that's not for your business or not purely for your business. I just don't even like it. These our businesses and our families and our relationships and our health, like it's not separate. It's not. So there's so much value in finding somebody who can hold space for all of those parts and pieces of you because it's a holistic thing because one affects the other. Like your hand affects your foot and all of that. Okay. So could come in the form of a no-filter coach, consultant, mentor, therapist, healer, or friend, just as long as you have evidence this person sees you as a powerful being who's fully responsible for your own perceptions, decisions, and actions, and is also aware of context and society and socialization. And as long as they will point you back to yourself ultimately, your own inner wisdom, as opposed to their opinions or their experiences. Like, it's great to have somebody who will share their experiences with you. I'm happy, like I'm open book to share with my clients and customers and friends, whatever I can that's useful. And yet, ultimately, I'm like, what do you want to do? You know, you can listen to somebody's story and then figure out which parts. That's why with this whole podcast, it's about a potluck of ideas so that you can grab your plate, come up to the serving line, take what works for you, skip over what doesn't. That's from the beginning what I wanted to present for you, as opposed to saying like, let me tell you what to do. Let me tell you how to do this right. I just don't believe there's a right way to be a human, to build a business, to raise humans. We're doing what we can with what we've got. And we all have really unique perspectives and values and all of that. So finding someone who believes in you and believes in your own inner wisdom, like that it actually has value, and that someone will point you back to helping you find what you really want to do based on who you really are and what you can really do in this moment and season about that. And then also realizing sometimes your inner wisdom is going to say, Google it. It's not like we have all the answers, like how to change the air conditioner in our Jeep or whatever it is. Like sometimes it's going to be Google it. That's fine. I'm not trying to take that too far in the extreme of like all the answers are within. But I think a lot of them are a lot more than we give ourselves credit for. And whether this space in this container comes from a group program or an individual relationship, whether it's someone you know personally or virtually, again, this podcast could be enough to help get you moving again, just to say, are you really unclear? If you had to know, what would it be? I just encourage you to prioritize time and space for conversations where you can come as you are and remember who you are, redefine who you are, and make real plans, practical plans to create your life accordingly based on the season that you're in. And please don't just fill your brain with strategies and best practices that work for other people, because sure, they work for other people and they might work for you. But if you're not connected to your own voice and values and vision, whatever you do is mostly a distraction from your most inspired, which is also your most efficient path. And like I said earlier, you can learn from the roundabout, but you're here to go and grow, as my dad always said. And then when all else fails or nobody else is available at the moment, you can always check in with your future self. I know I've talked about that before in an episode. I promise I'm going to record a future self visualization for you and for me. It'll probably be like a book bonus or something. You'll know about it once it's ready. I'm getting there. Baby steps. Now that I have the microphone plugged back in, I'm really actually looking forward to recording visualizations out the wazoo. But that's another thing, like Googling future self visualizations till I have my own. And when I do, I'll come back and link it into the show notes here. But Googling future self visualizations and checking in with your future self to be like, hey, what is the next right step? What is the most inspired thing that I can do that will help for the highest good for me and for everyone involved, you know? Just checking in there. And you might be surprised with the answers you get. Again, it's just a muscle. It's something that you need to practice. If you've been out of touch with your own voice and the earbuds fell out, came unplugged, or maybe the speaker broke or whatever it is, just consider prioritizing and making sure you've got those bumper rails up for somebody who can hold up that mirror for you when everything else is going on, so many other things going on in the home, especially currently as I'm recording this and it's still quarantine mode and all of that. Like there's so many things going on for sure. But having that time to just sit and be still and be quiet and be like, who am I? When am I? Where am I? And having somebody whose only goal is to help you get clear on that and feel rooted and grounded in who you are, what you want, and what you're willing and able to do to create it. It's so powerful. On that note, I am, cooking a baby right now and all of that. Thankfully, everything is still going well, but I'm open to working with you in these last few months of this pregnancy. If you just go to my website, NikkiElledgeBrown.com, or you can go to workwithnikki.com, and that's where I'll have an application for whatever my most current, recent, updated offer is. I'm not going to be doing anything big or splashy before baby comes because I don't know how I'm going to feel once baby's here. But I would love to be able to support you in this way if that feels like something you want and need at this stage in life and business. So either way, consider that your homework. The 2 questions. 1, if you are feeling unclear, stuck, uncertain, you're looking for the answer key, what if you had to know? And doodle on that, whether by hand, voice memo, typing it. If I had to know the answer, before you're like, I need to find the answer externally, just ask yourself, if I had to know, if I had to be sure, what would the next step be? Or what would the answer be? Play with that. And then 2, really, if you're at a point where it makes sense for you and feels inspired for you to invest in this kind of support, then start looking around and open up to those possibilities of people and recommendations and referrals, and really base it on people that have actually worked with these people, whether it is a therapist or healer, because not all therapists are created equally. We know that for sure, or qualified or healed in their own stuff, and they could be projecting that on you. And we all do to a degree, right? We're human. But talk with other people who have worked with people that you're considering working with to really make sure that it's not that they're just going to project their stuff onto you, but their goal is really to help you get clear on who you are, what you want. Okay. I hope that's helpful for you. Let me know. Tag me on Instagram. Send me an email, Nikki at Nikki Elledge Brown. I would love, 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 love to hear from you on this one, because this is really important. This is key stuff for everything that I'm going to be doing and creating moving forward, because it's been the most valuable support for me. So yeah, I'm also recording this for my kids one day. Like I want them to listen back and make sure that there is somebody there who's helping them be who they are. I mean, as long as I can be that person, I'm going to be that person for them. But it's important for us to have a village of people who are there to be like, who you are is awesome. So however I can help you be more of that, we all win. All right. I hope you're having a beautiful day, night, wherever you are. Thank you so much for spending time with me today, and I will catch you next time. This show may be over, but the conversation is just beginning. Head on over to naptimeempires.com/Facebook so you can join my free... Wait, did I say free? I meant priceless, rapidly growing community of Naptime Empire builders for deeper discussions, behind-the-scenes scoop, and of course, updates whenever I've got new stuff coming up for you. naptimeempires.com/Facebook. See you there.
See you next time. Thanks for listening.
Good job, buddy.